the tug-of-war between government secrecy and public transparency. Explore the constant tension between government secrecy, classified information, and the public's right to know in an insightful and entertaining talk. Behind closed doors, the ongoing struggle between government secrecy and public access. You know, I was thinking about how often we hear stories about government classified information popping up in the news, and it got me wondering, how much of what's going on behind closed doors do we really get to see? Governments everywhere wrestle constantly with the balance between keeping things under wraps and allowing public scrutiny. It's one of those issues that feels both distant and close to home depending on the day. Most people tend to assume that when the government keeps something secret, it's probably for good reasons. But on the other hand, that government information secrecy can often fuel suspicion, conspiracy theories, and a deep mistrust in those running the show. It's this tricky dance between the necessity of government confidentiality and the public's right to know that shapes so much of our political and social lives. Let's start with what government classified information actually means. These are documents, communications, or policies that are labeled classified because they might harm national security, diplomatic relations, or ongoing investigations if released publicly. Makes sense, right? You don't want sensitive intel falling into the wrong hands. But here's where it gets complicated. Sometimes, these government secret policies aren't just about protecting us from external threats. They might also be about hiding inconvenient truths or protecting powerful interests. Government transparency issues often show themselves in the form of limited access to records or delayed freedom of information requests. Ever tried to get your hands on certain government documents only to find them heavily redacted or outright denied? That's government document secrecy in action. It's frustrating, and it makes you wonder what's being kept from you and why. This tension is well portrayed in a gripping read I recently came across, Hush, a psychological thriller of alien manipulation and deep state deceit. The story weaves the idea of government secrecy into a thrilling narrative about manipulation, hidden agendas, and truth-seeking. If you're into psychological thrillers that make you question what's real behind the veil of secrecy, this book is a perfect companion. Trust me, it's a page-turner, and also makes you think about how much control governments really have over the information they share. Buy now an ebook, print, or audio to immerse yourself in a story where the lines between truth and deception blur, all while exploring themes of government information secrecy. But back to reality. Consider the ongoing debates about transparency versus confidentiality. Governments argue that revealing too much can endanger lives or critical operations. For example, military plans often stay classified for obvious security reasons. But at the same time, whistleblower leaks have exposed wrongdoing, seen in historical cases like the Pentagon Papers or more recent intelligence disclosures. One challenge is striking the right balance. How do you keep necessary secrets without eroding public trust? When confidentiality tips too far, it creates a breeding ground for suspicion. When transparency tips too far, sensitive data might fall into unsafe hands. As citizens, we want accountability. That means access to accurate information through legitimate channels, something open government advocates tirelessly fight for. They work to ensure government document secrecy doesn't become a cloak for unchecked power. Initiatives for better freedom of information laws and watchdog organizations exist precisely because transparency matters. After all, an informed public is better equipped to make decisions and hold leaders accountable. At the same time, it's worth remembering not all secrets are sinister. Sometimes government confidentiality is genuinely there to protect people, but the key is maintaining some kind of oversight so that secrecy doesn't become absolute. Independent review boards, honest journalism, and engaged citizens all play a part in balancing this delicate equation. So whenever you hear about some classified file being kept under lock and key, remember it's part of a bigger conversation about trust, power, and the right to know. And if you enjoy stories that highlight these very themes in an entertaining way, pick up a copy of Hush, a psychological thriller of alien manipulation and deep state deceit. Whether you prefer ebook, print, or audio, it's a fascinating ride that shines a light on what might be hidden in plain sight. At the end of the day, government secrecy and public access to information will probably always be at odds. It's up to all of us to stay curious, ask questions, and demand transparency where it truly matters.